What a man truly seeks when he recognizes you as his twin flame isn't defined by his outward behavior. It stems from a deeper. Some withdraw, others try to stay, some go silent, while others express intense emotion. Yet without exception, all men undergo the same inner transformation. For the masculine, recognizing his twin flame is not a romantic moment, it is a psychological shock, a spiritual rupture in the start of the ego's unraveling. The ego he has spent his entire life defending. This is why some resist, some rush forward, some get stuck between approaching and retreating, and others attempt to love but cannot sustain their vulnerability. Here's the truth that few share. Masculine desire in a twin flame awakening operates across 5 layers that completely challenge conventional ideas about relationships. Understanding these layers shifts your focus from trying to win him over to doing the only thing that truly works. In this video, I'll reveal these 5 truths about what he really wants. If you watch until the end, you'll see why previous attempts have failed and what you actually need to do moving forward. First, it's essential to understand why masculine reactions to twin flame recognition vary so dramatically, and why this can create a dynamic that appears harsh but is, in fact, necessary. The masculine psyche is fundamentally different from the feminine. While the feminine is naturally attuned to emotional intensity and connections that transcend logic, the masculine has been conditioned over millennia to prioritize autonomy, control, rationality, and strength. Meeting a twin flame shakes all these pillars simultaneously. For the masculine, a twin flame encounter is not romantic, it is an existential crisis. He sees the connection and immediately recognizes its power to dismantle the person he has meticulously built. This realization terrifies him, even as another part surrenders completely. This internal split is the source of the contradictory behavior you witness, moving closer, pulling away, showing love, retreating, verbally acknowledging the connection while acting indifferent. Carl Jung described how the masculine carries the thema, the unconscious feminine inner counterpart. Encountering a twin flame activates this thema, forcing him to confront emotional and spiritual dimensions he has long denied or repressed. The masculine ego, built on strength and control, interprets this activation as weakness, loss, or threat. His resistance does not mean the connection isn't relit, reflects the inner upheaval that twin flame recognition inevitably triggers. It actually works in the opposite way. The stronger the recognition, the greater the resistance. The deeper the connection, the more fear it triggers. And the more it threatens to transform him, the stronger his defense becomes. Every attempt you make to validate the connection or convince him to surrender only heightens this resistance. Because it reinforces his ego's sense that he is losing control, you need to understand that masculine desire in a twin flame awakening operates in layers that can seem contradictory. Consciously, he may genuinely believe he doesn't want this connection, thinking it would be easier to remain in simpler, more controllable relationships. Yet at an unconscious, soul-deep level, he desires exactly what he fears the most. He wants to be fully seen, to surrender to the intensity, and to experience a love that dissolves all barriers. He just doesn't know how to do this without feeling as if he is being overwhelmed. When the masculine recognizes his twin flame, his first instinct is not to surrender, it is the opposite. He seeks to prove to himself that he doesn't need this connection. This reaction is not immature or pathological. It is an archetypal response deeply embedded in the masculine psyche, serving a distinct evolutionary purpose. For millennia, the masculine has been conditioned to define his identity through autonomy, strength, and self-sufficiency. Encountering his twin flame awakens a powerful recognition that vibrates through every part of him, triggering panic. He perceives it as a loss of control, a vulnerability he has never experienced before. While the feminine may naturally embrace the connection, the masculine experiences it as a threat to his ego. A part of him thinks, if I need this person to feel complete, I am not strong enough on my own. This conflicts with everything the masculine identity has been taught to uphold. In that initial moment, his desire is not for closeness, is for distance. He needs space to process the intensity without feeling consumed. He must reassure himself that he can function independently, even from what his soul recognizes as essential. It's an internal struggle for him, between what he truly feels and what he believes he should feel. Between who he's becoming through this connection and the identity he's always known. Here's what many fail to grasp. The more you chase him in these moments, the more you attempt to convince him of the bond's reality, the more you trigger his defense mechanisms. Every effort to get closer can unconsciously signal to him that he's losing autonomy, becoming dependent, or showing vulnerability. A man needs to realize for himself, through his own direct experience, that recognizing his twin flame doesn't diminish his strength. It transforms it. But this understanding cannot be forced or rushed. It must unfold in his own time, without external interference that only heightens resistance. During this initial phase, he may engage with others, bury himself in work, or create emotional and physical distance. This doesn't mean his feelings aren't real. It means he's grappling with something so profound, it threatens to reshape his sense of self. He's trying to integrate an experience that doesn't fit the mental frameworks he's relied on to understand relationships and connections. What he truly needs in that moment is for you to be strong enough to not rely on his validation. He wants to see you firmly grounded in your own truth so he can step back without fearing he's harming you. Only when he witnesses your wholeness independent of him can he allow himself to consider returning without feeling trapped by your need. The second key. Insight about masculine desire in a twin flame awakening is even more counterintuitive. He seeks challenge, not unconditional acceptance. This contradicts what romantic spirituality often teaches about unconditional love. The masculine awakens not in the presence of someone who simply accepts him, but in the presence of someone who sees his potential and refuses to settle for anything less. When he encounters his twin flame, a deep part of him senses that this person can truly see him, both his light and his shadow, his strengths and his limitations. What he wants, even if he resists consciously, is to be fully seen, not idealized, not placed on a pedestal, but observed with clarity. He desires someone who cannot be deceived by his masks, defenses, or unconscious games. Someone who loves him enough to refuse allowing him to remain small. When he is destined for greatness, here's the paradox. He can only accept this challenge from someone he deeply respects. And he respects only those who uphold high standards for themselves. If you accept less than you deserve, tolerate actions that violate your integrity, or diminish yourself to fit into the limited space he offers, you undermine the very conditions necessary for his full awakening. The masculine in a twin flame journey seeks provocation to grow. He desires a mirror, not just of his successes, but of his avoidances. Not only of his virtues, but also of the patterns he needs to break. At a soul level, he wants someone strong enough not to tolerate his lesser versions. This doesn't mean being critical or controlling. It means having clear standards for the kind of connection you are willing to accept and the courage to walk away if those standards are not met. It means loving deeply without losing yourself, surrendering fully without abandoning your own identity. When he sees this strength in you, someone who loves him but doesn't desperately need him, something awakens within him that passive acceptance could never spark. The masculine has been conditioned to seek what is challenging, what doesn't come easily, what requires genuine effort to earn. This isn't about superficiality or immaturity. It's a deep psychological structure. He feels fulfilled only when he is actively growing toward something meaningful, rather than settling into what is already guaranteed by setting clear boundaries and honoring your own path of in. If it means stepping away temporarily in by showing that your life is rich and meaningful, independent of him, you awaken in him the desire not just for your love, but for the chance to meet your standard. This is the kind of desire that can sustain him through the full transformation the twin flame journey demands. The third truth is the most difficult to accept. In twin flame awakening, he must face his own darkness completely before he can integrate his light. You cannot save him from this process. No matter how much you love him or recognize his potential, the masculine carries a specific shadow that only emerges when he encounters his twin flame. This shadow includes emotional denial, avoidance, vulnerability, fears, and superficial patterns that have protected him from true intimacy throughout his life. When he recognizes you and senses the undeniable connection, all of this shadow surfaces at once. He may become distant, confused, or contradictory. He might say one thing and act differently, show intense love, and then withdraw. Acknowledge the connection verbally while behaving as if it doesn't exist. This isn't intentional cruelty. It's the way his psyche attempts to integrate long-repressed parts of himself. He needs to confront his emotional underworld on his own, without you as a safety net. He must face fears of inadequacy, doubts about being enough, and the challenge of sustaining such a deep connection. He needs to examine all the times he avoided vulnerability, chose safety over truth, and built masks to hide insecurities. This process is neither pretty nor romantically spiritual. It is chaotic, confusing, and often painful to witness. You may see the man you love acting in ways that contradict his true self, self-sabotaging, or making choices that lead to suffering, resisting what could be his greatest source of joy. But here's the truth you must accept. He needs to make these choices. He must feel the consequences of denying his own soul. He must discover on his own that fleeing from the intensity of the connection does not bring peace. It brings a unique kind of emptiness, one that cannot be shortened by loving more, being more understanding, or proving how perfect you are together. What he truly desires, though he may never voice it, is for you to remain whole while he navigates his own inner turbulence. He wants you to be a steadfast lighthouse, illuminating the path without stepping into his storm to save him. He needs you to trust that he possesses the strength to emerge from this process transformed, even when everything seems to suggest otherwise. This phase can last months or even years. During this time, you must live your own life fully, not waiting for him to finish his journey before you begin yours. Keep growing, evolving, and becoming increasingly authentic in who you are. When he finally emerges, having confronted and integrated the shadow aspects of himself, he will seek you. At that moment, he needs to find someone who stayed strong, not someone who got lost while waiting. The masculine aspect in twin flame awakenings carries a deep ancestral fear. It's often manifesting as resistance. This fear stems from the belief that loving deeply could derail his mission in the world. This is the fourth truth few understand about masculine desire. Throughout millennia, masculine identity has been shaped by cultural and evolutionary conditioning, emphasizing purpose and mission. A man's value has long been tied to what he builds, conquers, and the legacy he leaves behind. When he encounters his twin flame and feels an attraction that eclipses personal ambition, a part of him panics. He fears that fully surrendering to this connection could compromise his focus, weaken him, or shift his priorities from achievement to relationship, turning him into a domesticated version of his potential. This fear is not unfounded. It arises from observing generations of men who lost themselves in codependent relationships. What he truly wants is to integrate love with his mission, realizing that the two are not opposed, but complementary. He cannot understand this through intellect alone. He must experience it directly. This is where you play a crucial role, not by competing with his mission, but by embodying your own purpose so fully that he sees love and purpose as mutually enhancing. When he witnesses your journey, ambitions, and impact on the world, a sense of relief and clarity arises. He understands that he does not have to choose between love and purpose. He can embrace both, but only with a partner equally committed to her evolution and contribution. What he seeks is a true partner, someone walking alongside him toward her own greatness, not orbiting around him waiting for inclusion. The masculine needs to feel inspired by the woman he loves. Being with her should make him more focused, stronger, and more capable of fulfilling his mission. This is only possible when you are fully committed to your own purpose, making the relationship a complement to your life rather than its primary source of meaning. When you live in a way that radiates the energy of someone, it's creating something meaningful, and show that your love for him does not compromise your commitment to your own path. You resolve the deep, ancestral internal conflict that often challenges the masculine. You demonstrate through example that profound love and personal purpose can coexist and even enhance each other. When he witnesses this in you, a woman who loves him deeply but doesn't rely on him for a meaningful life, he can finally immerse himself in the connection without fear of losing his own identity. He sees reflected in you the possibility of integrating all aspects of life, loving deeply while contributing powerfully. The fifth and most profound truth about masculine desire and twin flame awakening is this: he wants to see living proof that he is deserving of the love his soul recognized. This touches the core of the masculine wound that spans generations. From a young age, the masculine is conditioned to tie his worth to performance. He learns he must conquer, prove himself, and constantly demonstrate his value. Even with external success, a persistent question remains: am I worthy of being loved for who I am, not what I do? Meeting his twin flame exposes this wound because this connection cannot be earned through achievements or external validation. Money, status, or physical attractiveness do not matter. The twin flame connection operates on a level that transcends these metrics entirely. This terrifies the masculine, because he doesn't know how to navigate a space where love cannot be conquered or earned. Often, his response is either to try to prove his worth through actions or to withdraw completely. Feeling unequipped for this dynamic, at the deepest soul level, what he truly desires is for his presence, his way of being, to serve as sufficient proof that he is worthy of this extraordinary connection. He wants to realize he does not need to conquer, achieve, or prove anything to deserve your love. He longs to be loved for who he is at his essence, not for what he offers. Yet, he cannot consciously ask for this. To articulate this need would expose his deepest vulnerability. Instead, he tests through distance, through behaviors that appear to push you away. Seeking to understand if your love is conditional or unconditional, dependent on what he does or who he is. This is where most people misunderstand him. They attempt to prove their love through pursuit, by tolerating insufficient behaviors, or by diminishing themselves to protect his ego. But this doesn't truly heal the wound. It only reinforces the idea that he must manipulate or control to earn love. Genuine healing of this deep masculine wound happens when you love his essence unconditionally while upholding high standards for his behavior. It's when your actions communicate, "I see your true self, and it's remarkable. But I will not accept anything less than your best because I know what you're capable of." It's the ability to love without neediness while insisting on integrity without compromise. This is a delicate balance. It demands that you are fully grounded in your own completeness so you can love without attachment, while setting boundaries without rigidity. It requires seeing his potential clearly without losing yourself in fantasies of who he might become. It means honoring his journey while prioritizing your own. When you inhabit this paradoxical space, loving his soul unconditionally, while maintaining conditional standards for your dynamics, something extraordinary occurs. He can finally relax into his own vulnerability, feeling safe to be fully seen. Safe because you won't exploit his weaknesses. Yet you also won't let him stay comfortably in them. The masculine and twin flame awakening seeks, above all, someone strong enough to hold space for his full transformation. Someone who sees through all defenses but remains unshaken. Someone who believes in his potential more than he does himself, yet doesn't compromise her own integrity trying to save him. When he finds that person, when he recognizes you as that force in his life, everything he resisted, denied, or tried to prove he didn't need collapses. In that surrender, he finally discovers what he truly wanted from the start: the permission to be fully human while evolving, to be vulnerable while growing strong, to need you while remaining complete in himself. If you've reached this point, you likely recognize these patterns in your own relationship dynamic. Perhaps now you understand why previous attempts didn't work. You were offering what you thought he wanted, not what he truly needed to awaken fully. Masculine desire and twin flame awakening isn't about more love, understanding, or acceptance. It's about finding someone who mirrors his truth so clearly that he can no longer hide. Someone whole enough to invite him to become whole, too. Someone who loves him enough not to accept his lesser versions, and that person can only be you. When you stop trying to be that person and instead fully embody your own radiant wholeness, when you live your journey so completely that he is no longer your center, but a bright star in your universe, what he truly desires is for you to shine so magnificently that he has no choice but to step fully into his own magnificence and earn the privilege of being by your side. This isn't a strategy, it's transformation. It's about becoming fully who you came here to be, naturally attracting only those ready to become who they came here to be as well. If this video resonated deeply, comment below. I choose my own magnificence. It shows you understand this isn't about winning him over, but about embodying such completeness that only his highest self can match your frequency. For practical tools to navigate this journey, I offer 2 resources: the ebook 21 Days of Transformation with Carl Jung and the ebook How to Manifest Your Twin Flame. Links are in the first pinned comment. Thank you for having the courage to face the truth, even when it challenges everything you believed about love and relationships. See you in the next video.